You gutted him like a fish in that apartment, too. You were relentless. You stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed until he was dead.
Do you have any regrets?
I have no regrets. Killing that pedophile was the best day of my life.
What about what you said in court about repenting? Is that not true then?
No, it's not true. My lawyer made me say it.
Do you have anything to say to the victim's family?
May they die also.
After considering all these factors, I find that the only sentence to pass in this case is death. I'm therefore sentenced the accused person to death as prescribed by the law.
It is therefore ordered that you shall be put to death by electrocution in the method prescribed by law, and that you shall be transferred to the custody of the warden at the Tennessee Prison for Women. And further, on the 12th day of January, 1997, your body shall be subjected to shock by sufficient current of electricity. May God have mercy upon you.
Tiffany Moss. In 2010, Tiffany Moss beat her 10-year-old stepdaughter Imani with a belt for failing to complete homework. A school nurse discovered bruises, scabs, and welts covering the child's body. Moss admitted to the abuse, pleaded guilty to first-degree child cruelty, and received 5 years of probation. Incredibly, she retained guardianship of Imani. 2 years later, Imani tried to run away twice. During one incident, she told police that Moss had tied her to a chair with belts and placed her in a cold shower as punishment for eating too slowly. No arrest was made. Anonymous reports of neglect poured into Georgia's Division of Family and Children Services describing Imani's extreme thinness. The agency failed to intervene. In October 2013, Imani Moss died from starvation and chronic abuse in the family's Lawrenceville, Georgia apartment. Prosecutors revealed a horrifying pattern of deliberate neglect. Moss had confined Imani to her room, denying her food and water while adequately feeding her own 2 biological children. When Imani died, she weighed just 32 pounds, roughly the weight of a toddler. Moss and her husband Iman attempted to conceal the body by placing it in a trash can and burning it in a backyard fire pit. The fire failed to fully incinerate the body, leading to its discovery. Iman later confessed and testified against Tiffany at trial. In April 2019, Moss represented herself in Gwinnett County Superior Court. She presented no defense, called no witnesses, offered no opening or closing statements, and didn't cross-examine a single prosecution witness. Standby counsel warned about Moss's potential brain damage, but Judge George Hutchinson allowed her self-representation. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours before convicting her of malice murder, 2 counts of felony murder, 2 counts of first-degree cruelty to children, and concealing the death of another. Moss showed no emotion. On May 1, 2019, the same jury deliberated for about 2.5 hours and unanimously recommended death by lethal injection.
And with respect to count 1, the jury has found you guilty of murder and other counts contained in the indictment against you. They have considered the circumstances surrounding that murder and found that aggravating circumstances exist. With respect to count 1, ma'am, I impose the...
Moss remained emotionless. Tiffany Moss is now the only woman on Georgia's death row, housed at Arendelle State Prison. No execution date has been scheduled. Her husband Iman received life imprisonment without parole. The case prompted Georgia to reform its child welfare system, but for Imani, a little girl who weighed 32 pounds at age 10, those reforms came too late. While Tiffany Moss starved a child to death in Georgia, another woman in Texas was planning something equally monstrous, a crime so brutal it would shock even seasoned investigators. Taylor Parker. 4 months, 27-year-old Taylor Parker had been living a lie. She convinced her boyfriend that she was pregnant with a girl, complete with a gender reveal party and ultrasound photos. There was just one problem. Parker had undergone a hysterectomy in 2015 and couldn't have children. She had a history of elaborate deceptions, claiming cancer, multiple sclerosis, and strokes to manipulate those around her. As her supposed due date approached, Parker knew she needed a baby. On October 9, 2020, she found one. Reagan Michelle Simmons Hancock was 21 years old and 35 weeks pregnant. She knew Parker as the photographer who had taken her wedding and engagement photos. When Parker offered to photograph Reagan's pregnancy, she accepted. It was a fatal mistake. Parker lured Reagan to her home in New Boston, Texas. Once inside, Parker attacked with a hammer, striking Reagan multiple times in the head and body. Then she used a scalpel she had purchased to perform a crude cesarean section, ripping the unborn baby from Reagan's womb while she was still alive. The autopsy revealed over 100 stab and slash wounds on Reagan's body. Defensive injuries covered her hands and arms. Her fingernails were found embedded in the placenta, evidence that she fought desperately to protect her child. The baby, Braxlyn Sage Hancock, was born alive but severely injured and deprived of oxygen. Parker fled with the infant. A Texas state trooper pulled her over for speeding. Parker claimed she had just given birth. The baby was airlifted to a hospital but died hours later. Reagan's body was discovered that morning after her mother called 911. The trial in October 2022 lasted 49 days, with testimony from 142 witnesses. Parker's defense argued she was a flawed human with mental health issues including possible Munchausen syndrome. The prosecution displayed graphic crime scene photos and argued Parker showed no remorse. After about 1 hour of deliberation, the jury convicted Parker of capital murder. On November 9, 2022, they deliberated for approximately 90 minutes before unanimously recommending death by lethal injection. Judge John Tidwell formally imposed the sentence with the words, "Take her to death row." Reagan's mother Jessica Brooks called Parker an evil piece of flesh demon, emphasizing that the crime destroyed lives. Reagan's husband described losing his wife, whom he called his best friend. Parker, now 32, is incarcerated at the Mountain View Unit in Gatesville, Texas, as one of only 7 women on the state's death row. No execution date has been set. From a woman who killed to steal a baby in America, we travel to Kenya, where a beauty queen's pageant crown couldn't hide the blood on her hands. Ruth Kamanda. In 2016, Ruth Wanjiku Kamanda won the title of Miss Lang'ata, while incarcerated at Lang'ata Women's Prison in Nairobi, Kenya. The 22-year-old beauty queen was awaiting trial for murder. Her pageant win made international headlines, but it was the brutality of her crime that truly shocked the nation. On the night of November 20, 2015, the then 21-year-old student visited her boyfriend Farid Mohammed Halim at his Buruburu apartment following a heated phone argument over suspicions of infidelity. Prosecutors described Kamanda as manipulative and controlling, exhibiting possessive behavior and accessing his phone without permission. Their relationship had deteriorated amid jealousy and constant arguments. What began as a confrontation escalated into a savage attack. Kamanda armed herself with a kitchen knife and stabbed Halim 25 times, targeting his chest, neck and other vital areas. The wounds were deep and deliberate, causing massive blood loss. Halim died at the scene. The crime scene was covered in blood with signs of a struggle, but no evidence supported Kamanda's later claim of self-defense. There were no defensive wounds on Halim consistent with an aggressor role. Neighbors alerted police, and Kamanda was arrested shortly after fleeing the apartment. During her trial, Kamanda claimed Halim had attacked her first during a fight over his phone, alleging a history of domestic abuse. Judge Jesse Lysiot rejected her self-defense plea as unbelievable, citing forensic evidence, witness testimonies from neighbors who heard no cries for help, and Kamanda's lack of remorse. On May 31, 2018, after a 2-week trial, Kamanda was convicted of murder. During sentencing on July 19, 2018, Judge Lysiot delivered a stern message. "I want young people to know that it is not cool to kill your boyfriend or girlfriend even where you feel disappointed or frustrated. Don't do it. Instead, it is cool to walk away and thereafter to forgive." The judge noted that a lesser sentence would turn the accused into a hero.
After considering all these factors, I found that the only sentence to pass in this case is death. I'm therefore sentenced the accused person to death as prescribed by the law. She has a right to appeal against the conviction and sentence within 14 days.
Kamanda showed no visible emotion. Her appeals were unsuccessful. In November 2020, the Court of Appeal upheld the conviction and death sentence. In April 2025, the Supreme Court dismissed her final appeal, stating that being battered isn't a defense for murder. However, in July 2023, President William Ruto commuted Kamanda's death sentence to life imprisonment as part of a broader amnesty. Kenya hasn't executed anyone since 1987. Kamanda, now 31, is serving her life sentence at Lang'ata Women's Prison. In November 2024, she graduated with a Bachelor of Laws degree and has expressed interest in pursuing human rights law. The victim's family expressed relief at the initial sentencing. Halim's aunt called him a young man, just starting his life, whose future was stolen by 25 knife wounds. While Ruth Kamanda killed once in a rage, our final case involves a woman who turned murder into a business model, poisoning victim after victim to fuel an addiction that consumed not just her life, but the lives of at least 14 others. Sararat Rangsuwathaporn. Thai media gave her the chilling nickname M. Cyanide. Sararat Rangsuwathaporn, a 36-year-old woman, stands accused of being Thailand's first female serial killer. Between 2015 and 2023, she allegedly poisoned at least 15 people with cyanide-laced herb capsules, resulting in 14 deaths and 1 survivor. Her motive? An addiction to online gambling. Sararat's method was diabolical in its simplicity. She would borrow or swindle large sums of money from friends and acquaintances, then kill them to avoid repayment. After poisoning her victims, she would steal their valuables, jewelry, phones, cash, to fund her gambling habit. She targeted people she knew well, exploiting their trust to administer the poison discreetly, often disguised as health supplements.
Well, basically gambling, she just finds it very easy to swindle money from her acquaintances, referred to as friends. I mean, I doubt if they're really friends, but basically she found it very easy. The fact that she got away for so long, it's been nearly 10 years for this 14 cases. It means the justice system, the forensic science, the local police were really not up to the task.
The case broke open in April 2023 after the death of Siraporn Kanwang, a wealthy friend. Sararat and Siraporn attended a Buddhist ritual together, releasing a fish into the Mae Klong River. They shared a meal afterward. Then Siraporn collapsed on the riverbank and died. The autopsy confirmed cyanide poisoning. Sararat had stolen Siraporn's phone, money, and bags. Police arrested her on April 20, 2023. The investigation uncovered a horrifying pattern. Police linked Sararat to at least 13 other deaths dating back to 2015, all initially ruled as natural causes like heart attacks. Cyanide induces cardiac arrest by starving cells of oxygen, making it difficult to detect without proper toxicology testing. Autopsies revealed cyanide traces in victim after victim. All were connected to Sararat. All had lent her money. All died shortly after consuming her herb capsules. Victims included her ex-boyfriend Suthasak Pongkwan, allegedly poisoned during a meeting in 2022. Her ex-husband, a former police lieutenant colonel, helped pick her up afterward and assisted in extorting money from his friends. One person survived after seeking immediate medical help, providing crucial testimony. On November 20, 2024, a Bangkok criminal court found Sararat guilty of premeditated murder in Siraporn's case. She was sentenced to death by lethal injection and ordered to pay 2 million baht, approximately $57,700, in compensation to Siraporn's family. During the reading of the sentence, Sararat reportedly smiled. This prompted outrage from Siraporn's mother, who held a photo of her daughter and stated, "You got justice, my child. Today there is justice in this world."
Firstly, what was Sararat's reaction when the sentence was read out in court today?
Actually, the Thai press were amused or disturbed that actually she did smile after the verdict was read. As we all know, there are 13 more cases. They also noted that she didn't appear remorseful at all and was wearing a very heavy makeup.
Sararat's ex-husband received 1 year and 4 months for hiding evidence. Her former lawyer received 2 years for urging evidence destruction. As of October 2025, Sararat has pleaded not guilty to all charges. She faces 14 additional cases, 13 murders and 1 attempted murder, alongside around 80 total offenses. She remains in custody without bail. Thailand rarely carries out executions, with none since 2018, so her death sentence may effectively mean life imprisonment. But for the families of at least 14 victims, the sentence provides some measure of justice for lives stolen by a woman who turned friendship into a fatal transaction.